Hey, welcome back for another episode of Porn Brain Rewire with me, Dr. Trish Leigh. It is officially our New Year's edition of this podcast, and it is actually New Year's Eve as I record it. My besties will be here in about an hour to ring in 2024. And before I celebrate with them, I wanted to show up here and celebrate with you. So I want to remind you moving into 2024 why this journey of a porn brain rewire is so important. And of course, I want to be able to give you tools and techniques and strategies. I want to fill that toolbox so you can be successful this year. So that's why we are naming this episode You Do Not Need Porn in 2024. And I am going to show you why in this episode. So stay with me, get a cup of coffee, get a pen, get out your pleather journal. We are going to start the year on the right foot. And I want you to know that this journey is likely the most important journey you will ever make. You might not know it yet, and especially if you're having difficulty gaining traction, you might not understand all of the benefits that are going to show up for you soon. So that's why I want you to be here with me on this podcast as we move into the new year. So before we start, I want to motivate you and empower you to recognize every important journey that you will take in your life is a solo journey. You might be standing next to other people while you take that journey, but the journey is yours alone. And that's important to know because the onus of control lands in your lap and it stays there. This is for you to do and for you to reap the rewards. And of course, your people can be next to you when you do it. And of course, this community, and I'm going to be here for you as you succeed in this journey. But this is your journey. You're the hero in this journey. It's you. I'm Yoda. I get to help you, but you are the hero. So this year, become the hero that you want to be. You can do it. You've got all the support you need. So let's go. Let's rock this out in 2024. So here's what we're going to do in this episode. Number one, I'm going to share with you what I mean by need. And we're going to talk about your brain, your mind, and your body. We're going to dive deep into the mechanisms that are at play for need. And we're going to do it quickly. So that's the best part. Then, number two, we're going to move on to why you did need porn in 2023 and why you're not going to need it in 2024. Those are going to be the next two sections in today's episode. And then, of course, stay with me for the end because I will have for you your brain hack strategy so that you can get this year off on the right foot. We are going to crush 2024 together. So let's do it. Number one, let's talk about what do I mean by need. All right, so let's start with the relationship between your brain, your mind, and your body. They are three different aspects of your self. Okay, so we're going to start with the self, and then we're going to think about your brain. We're going to talk about the neurological components. Number two, we're going to talk about your mind. That mind is the voice that is talking to you in there. That mind seems like it's controlling you sometimes, but ultimately you have control once you know how it works. The mind is psychological. Then we're going to move on to the body. The body is your physical behaviors they feel like they're being controlled by your mind for sure. So the body is physiological. So we have three aspects we're looking at. One, neurological. Two, psychological or mental. And number three, physiological or physical, and the relationship between the three. So let's start with your brain, neurological functioning. And from my standpoint, we're going to focus on electrical energy and how that changes how neurotransmitters cascade. So you probably have heard me talk before about a wired and tired brain pattern. This is a brain that's using much too much extra fast speed and much too much slow speed. So when your brain is running extra fast, it feels anxious, it feels hyped up, It feels like it's going to explode sometimes. It can feel hypervigilant. It can feel stressed out. It can't relax. Extra fast speed, very fast speed, makes it so that you cannot feel relaxed, calm, and focused. Okay, so that's the wired piece of the brain pattern that is at the core of why you need to go back for self-soothing and self-stimulation from porn. That's the wired aspect, too fast. Now on the other end of the continuum, on the other end down by the other extreme, you have slow speed. So now if your brain is feeling anxious and you're stressed and it's running too hot, what happens is your brain will fatigue. It will tire. We know screen time does this also. So it's a twofer when it comes to those types of things. So what happens is down on the other end of the extreme, you have tired. Your brain feels fatigued. It feels overwhelmed. It feels like it needs to be stimulated. So a wired and tired brain pattern wants to be self-soothed, wants to be stimulated. Essentially, it's hyperarousal and hypoarousal, which are the polar opposites of healthy arousal. And my job is to help you get your brain back to healthy arousal so you can have better functioning of your mind and your body. Hopefully you're with me here. So it starts with the neurological piece. Okay, so wired and tired, too fast, too slow, the opposite of healthy arousal, hyperarousal, hypoarousal. Okay, so now what happens is when you're using this wired and tired pattern, it changes the way that the neurotransmitters cascade. There will be more cortisol, more stress hormone, there's less, or at least less of production and utilization of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. When your brain is ramped up and when it's overwhelmed, it doesn't utilize neurotransmitters in the healthy arousal pattern. Now, you couple this with the 4D cycle of porn, where your brain gets a dopamine drip from an external super normal stimulus. That's what porn is. It's not inside, it's externally driven super normal stimulus of porn. What happens is you get a dopamine drip, your brain will chase that down to the dopamine deluge or flood. Then there's the dopamine drowning, which makes your brain feel numbed out, and it artificially shifts you into the mode that makes you feel calm and chill. But it's artificial. It's not authentically created from within. And that leads to a dopamine deficit in your life. Wired and tired. And so goes the cycle on and on and on until New Year's Eve, when we break that cycle by setting an intention or a resolution for the next year. And I know some people don't like resolutions, but to resolve to make yourself better in the new year, that is a noble and courageous commitment that I don't want anybody to shy away from. Resolutions are okay, and I like to think of them as intentions. We're going to set the intention to do this in the new year. All right, that's neurological functioning. So the electrical energy pattern is off. It's not using the healthy mode, and that changes the way that neurotransmitters are utilized and are produced. And we know also the 4D cycle of porn is going to directly impact that, keeping your brain in the wired and tired pattern. Now, this pattern drives you back into the screen. This pattern I like to call the hijacker in your brain. And you can draw the hijacker in your journal so that you can give him a face, give him a characterization, because he is not you. He is the you, or the small s self, the little tiny s self, that version of you that is using the unhealthy brain pattern. So when you optimize your brain and you're using a healthy brain pattern, the you that you are changes. You change that little s into your big S self, the authentic, peak performance, full potential self you've always wanted to be. You cannot be that version while your brain is stuck in the wired and tired mode. It's impossible. That mode does not breed the big S self. So, the self that we're talking about is your mind and your body. So, recognize that the hijacker in your brain, he took hold of your brain likely in adolescence when you were young. And we know that young brains are much more vulnerable to substances or behaviors that change the way that dopamine is produced and utilized, aka porn. So, this has been brewing for a long time in your brain because of this hijacker. So, the hijacker is the neurological component, but he also falls out as the behaviors of your mind and your body. So, we already talked about that voice, the psychological piece of it. Now, from the science, what we know is that porn use increases anxiety, it increases depression. These are all the psychological or mental side effects of porn use. We know that especially social anxiety is increased. We know there's an increase in shame, feelings of guilt that are, I'm doing something bad, feelings of shame. I am bad. Self esteem is impacted. We know that your focus, concentration, decreases. There's brain fog. We know that there's porn induced ADHD. You might feel like you have ADHD, or you may have even gone and gotten an ADHD diagnosis. We know that mood disorders can come from this cycle and this hijacker in your brain because of the changes to the electrical energy and to the neurotransmitters. Anger increases, irritability increases. Your mind is impacted because of the neurological changes. So, this year, 2024, when you leave porn behind, you can look forward to feeling calmer, more focused, on purpose, feeling like you can think better, feeling like you can connect to people better. The psychological aspect's gonna improve too. Now, moving to your body, we know that you feel urges and cravings, especially when you're caught up in that cycle. Your mind will trick you with those urges and cravings mentally, but you also feel it in your body. And that aspect is the physiological aspect that goes along with the hijacker. Those are hijacker feelings that you have. Sensations would be a better way of saying it. So, those sensations can't be trusted. They're not yours. They're not your big S self. They're your little S self, the one we're going to say goodbye to tonight together. So, when you have those feelings, recognize they come out of the unhealthy brain pattern that you're going to change this year. Okay, so in this part of the episode, I want you to think about your brain is neurological functioning that plays out as changes in your mind and your body. Another major fallout in a physiological aspect is erectile dysfunction and sexual arousal dysfunction. We know this. I just made a podcast on if porn is making you sad. Is it giving you sexual arousal dysfunction? If you watch porn and you have sexual arousal dysfunction issues, the answer is a resounding yes. So that is another thing to look forward to being remediated this year on this fine New Year's Eve. Okay, now let's move on. Let's talk about, I have to check my notes here. So let's talk about why you needed porn in 2023. And this should be easy. If we're looking at the hijacker and the little s self that you've been for a long time, that is a cycle you've been caught up in for a very long time. Your brain needs it. So the need is for high levels of dopamine from that external stimulus for self-soothing and for self-stimulation. You've taught your brain to go to porn or to sex to feel good. And we know, again from science, that the changes in the brain are considered to be brain dysfunction. The International Classification of Diseases, the 11th edition, which is endorsed by the World Health Organization, classifies compulsive sexual behavior disorder as changes in brain functioning that lead to compulsions that have to do with sexuality, going back to sex to feel good, because of the irregular or dysfunctional brain pattern. That's why your brain has needed it up until this point. But it's not going to need it in 2024 because you're going to make the changes. And I'm going to help you do it so it's a lot easier. If you've tried before, you need to use more tools so that you can be successful. We're going to get to that in just a minute. Okay, I want to remind you as we move into the new year that this podcast is sponsored directly by me, Dr. Trish Leigh. And the reason I do it is this is my outreach program to help you for free. If you need more help, please go over to drtrishleigh.com. I'm going to share with you in the next section some of the services that I provide, but I'm on a mission here. I want you to leave porn behind so that you can make for healthier brain functioning for you, and that can have a massive ripple effect in your life and in the lives of everybody around you. That is how it works. Everything gets better. So I'm on a mission. So if you need more help than this podcast, or if you're trying and you're not succeeding, I offer a 90-day digital program that you can get into. It's just like the AAAs of porn. It's affordable, accessible, and anonymous. I don't have to know who you are unless you want me to. And of course, I want to get to know you. So go over to drtrishleigh.com, check out the 90-day program and the other services that I offer. If you want to talk to me directly, as of this recording, I still offer consultations because I want to be able to help you personally. Okay. And this podcast is also sponsored by the nonprofit organization that I have founded. It's called Porn Brain Prevention.org. So please, if you don't need help anymore, please go over to that nonprofit and donate, because we're paying it forward and trying to help kids not get sucked into porn in the first place. This is the first time where the next generation is worse off than the generation before, and porn has a massive role in that destructive force. I want to stop it, and I would love for you to help me. Pornbrainprevention.org. Please donate what you can. The money goes for a good use to help kids stay away from porn in the first place. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about in 2024 why you're not going to need porn anymore. Okay, so we talked about the mechanisms behind porn use briefly, but what I also want to share with you is that hijacker in your brain, he's tricky, man. He will keep sabotaging you, keeping you stuck on purpose. Addiction doesn't go away easily. Compulsion doesn't go away easily if you've been feeding it for a long time. You've been feeding that hijacker for a long time, whether you know it or not. So these are the 4 primary ways that the hijacker will self-sabotage you. I call them the 4 S's. Number 1 is sex. So you think porn is about sex, but it's not. But it's linked so tightly that it feels like it is. So your sex life becomes completely distorted. And this is a self-sabotaging behavior. It's one you can clean up this year. And we're going to talk about how you can improve it. But the first S is sex. The second S is spending. So for so many people, they will overspend, which keeps them stressed out, which keeps them going back to porn to self-soothe. It becomes a vicious cycle. So January 1 is a perfect time to have what I'm calling in the Leigh family household controlled spending. Because if you've heard me and if you know me, you know when my stress response is to go on a spending freeze. So I'm going to try not to go into my survival mode stress response, which is a total hijacker behavior, and to go on a spending freeze. Instead, we're moving into controlled spending in 2024. I would encourage you to look at that aspect, because I know it's a number 1 way people stress themselves out, which keeps them going into the screen. And overworking and overspending instead of getting into calm focus and internally regulating, that is a self-sabotaging behavior to stay in survival mode. And what we're talking about here is that little s is survival. What I want you to do over the course of this year is to grow that S up into thrival. This is time, this is your time to thrive and not to survive anymore. So, sex, spending, snacking is our third S. Food's very dopamine producing. We know that a dopamine dysregulation or dysfunction is at the core of a porn habit. It'll show up in other places like spending. When you spend, you get a dopamine hit. Many people do it. In fact, I've probably been doing it throughout the holiday season, hence the controlled spending. So, snacking is the same way, especially sugary snacks. Your brain wants to go back to them for a quick hit of dopamine so that you can get that quick and easy button, fast hit of dopamine to offset the stress because you're in survival mode. Cleaning up your eating in the new year would really serve you. And the way to do it is to eat healthy fats, vegetables, and protein. Stay away from crinkly bags and do some research on how to eat healthier. It will serve you magnanimously. All right. And the fourth S, which I was really struggling with, is one that I want to reflect your relationships. And what I came up with is symbiosis. And symbiosis is a really important component because what it is a mutually beneficial relationship. It's sharing of yourself with your people, which is something that is usually low because of risk of vulnerability when it comes to being caught up in this porn cycle. So I want to encourage you in 2024 to not self-sabotage your relationships because you're afraid to be vulnerable and you're not willing to go towards symbiosis. Again, scientifically, we know that codependency is something that's at the core of a porn habit or addiction in and of itself, has a lot of codependent relationships tied up in it. Doesn't mean it is for sure for you, but we know that there is a correlation. So instead of being codependent, where your identity's kind of blurred, instead, I want you to be interdependent and have a symbiotic relationship. So all your relationships become mutually beneficial, but you can kick some booty by yourself. You become the best, full potential, big S, thrival version of yourself that you can stand tall next to your people, every last one of them, without needing a dang thing from them. That is symbiosis. You give, you take, you share, you rock out your best life. That is what we're doing in 2024. So, those four S's are at the core of what needs to be improved moving into 2024 so there's no more self sabotaging. And when we get to the brain hack, I'm going to share something that you can do. Okay, then the next piece of why you're not going to need porn in 2024 is because you are going to find your passion and get on purpose. Passion and purpose trumps everything. I'm constantly trying to get my precious children to find their passion, get on purpose, and stay there. There's nothing that gets you out of bed faster and easier than being passionate about something that contributes to the world. That contribution is what is going to help you regulate from within and stay in thrival. When you're contributing the special gift that you have, that authentic version of your big S self, the way you add to the world, that is how you thrive. By denying that, you stay in survival forever. And passion and purpose came because one of my precious children, it's always one of them, it's just a matter of which one of them, has been struggling lately. And we had conversations regarding social media. And I'm like, don't put trash out on social media. Your filter is everything you put out. Does it have passion and purpose in it? And that's different for each one of my kids. And you know what my passion and purpose is. If you look at my feeds, it's about helping the world come out of the screen and get on purpose in their life. So spend some time figuring out what your passion and purpose is, then have the courage to go after it this year. Remembering this is a solo journey. Your partner might not love that. So be it, because you're going to kick some booty this year next to in a symbiotic relationship. My partner, the hubs of 20 plus years, doesn't love everything I do. And I have learned that is okay. And he has learned that I don't love everything he does. And as long as they're healthy and they're the big S version of ourselves, that's cool. We support each other. If it's not, we stand up and we help the person get back on track. Symbiosis. That's what we're going for this year. Passion and purpose. Okay, so now your brain hack strategies for the day are surrounding all of those ideas. So when we talk about neurotransmitters, We're talking about dopamine, and we know right now you're getting too much dopamine from porn, which is keeping your brain in dopamine seeking mode. That is very important because in the new year, we have to bring down the levels of dopamine that you give your brain. Number one, you need to stay out of the screen. You have to figure out how not to watch porn. And if you need help, go over to drtrishleigh.com. My 90-day program will do it for you. Every month we have a meeting where I personally guide you and I keep you motivated, and I teach you how to use the tools in the program so you can be successful. So number one is you have to stay out of porn because you cannot give your brain those high levels of dopamine and at the same time teach your brain to feel good at lower levels of dopamine. And the same thing goes for your sex life, your snacking life, and your relationships, all those S's. So we have to lower the amount of dopamine that your brain feels good, and that's going to bring your brain back into healthy arousal. So that's dopamine. Serotonin is going into your life and finding joy. That's the passion and purpose piece. If you're passionate and on purpose, that hits not as hard, but it lasts a lot longer. That's the joy piece we're going for, and you need to find it from your life, not in the screen or in an artificial way. And lastly, oxytocin is the hormone, the chemical that links us to other people. So that's the relationship, the symbiosis chemical in your brain. So we want to be getting that from healthy relationships. That's why my mantra's always been go after dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin from your work, from your hobbies, and from your people. Passion and purpose, baby. That's what we're going to do. So now in your brain hack, in your journal, write down how you're going to do that. What are you going to do in your work? If you don't like it and it's not passion and purpose, how are you going to figure out how to be passionate and on purpose? How are you going to find serotonin, which is joy? Sunsets are serotonin. Couch sitting is serotonin. Those activities, like my besties are coming over and we're not partying hardcore, we're spending time together. Serotonin instead of hit hard dopamine. Oxytocin from the connection. Find the ways you're going to do it specifically in your life. That is the game changer. I always say that the solution is in the problem. So the problem is too much dopamine from the screen. The solution is lower amounts of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, what they call the happiness trifecta, from your life. Your life has to change. Your life has to improve. You're going to improve the 4S's. You're going to get passionate on purpose, and we're going to rock out 2024 together. No longer in survival mode of that small s, but we're going to kick it up a notch into that big S thrival mode in 2024. All right. I wish you and your family a happy new year. And as we move into this new year, we're going to control our brains so that our brains no longer control us. It is going to be the best year yet. I am so psyched. I don't think I've ever been this psyched. Not for New Year's Eve, but for a new year, for fresh start. We all have a fresh start. And so take the opportunity. This is day one. Take the day one opportunity so that we can become the very best versions of our authentic selves together. Happy New Year. And as always, control your brain or it'll control you.